Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We don't want to see things fail. In fact, we feel we've got great, extraordinary opportunities up north. And as we think about carbon capture, utilization, and sequestration, direct air captures, I don't think there is a single climate model that exists that states that these technologies are not going to be needed in the future, and then, of course, dramatically scaled up. So I'm curious this morning to hear how Department of Energy is implementing these provisions, how we're getting funding out the door. And I'll start by expressing, Mr. Crabtree, my appreciation for the announcement that ASRC, in consortia with Repsol and Santos, was selected to receive funds for the feasibility of the direct air capture hubs up on the North Slope. We're excited about that. I also want to express my hope that the department will take a real hard look at the existing Alaska applications for the carbon capture large-scale pilot project up there as well. It's really exciting, and when you think about it, it can be so transformative. What this application would do is test the technology of these 7 Frame 5 gas turbine generation equipment units there at Prudhoe. But when you think about the potential to make a difference, this alone has the potential to address 35% of the state's emissions, not just of the emissions up there, 35%. And then again, once it's successful in demonstrating the replication of this technology, to then move that to 20 Frame 5 turbines, all located within a 5-mile perimeter there on the slope. So question for you this morning is when the department is looking to make determinations on these pilots, and I know that you're somewhat restricted in giving too much information, but just more holistically, when you're looking at these applications, how important is the ability of replication and for these projects to then be able to expand to address emission sources in nearby areas? Do you take that into account?
We do, Senator. And by the way, I just have to say I was as excited as you were to see the award on the North Slope. If you'd asked me a few years ago, would we have Native Alaskan and industry cooperation around a direct air capture project on the North Slope of Alaska, I would not have imagined that.
Super exciting.
It is very exciting. Obviously, you already acknowledged this. I can't speak to projects under consideration. But yes, replicability, it's actually inherent in the whole approach to demonstration. The idea is with the demonstration funding is that with the success of these projects, it will de-risk these projects and facilitate investment in future similar projects in the marketplace. And that's why it's so important that Congress provided, and you, Senator, played a role with the 2020 Energy Act in expanding the role, not just to R&D that DOE can play, but supporting commercial scale demonstration of these technologies.
And that's why I think we're so excited about the potential up there, because we are in this unique ecosystem, if you will, given the topography and the geography of the slope compared to other areas in the lower 48. You have an opportunity here where you can utilize both CCUS and direct air capture in a heavily concentrated and primarily industrialized area there between Prudhoe and Kuparuk. And so you have an amazing opportunity up there to demonstrate in a way that is unique, driven by, again, the topography and how things are concentrated. So we're very, very excited about it. You mentioned the recognition that we're working with Alaska Natives, ANCs, Alaska Native, Arctic Slope Native Corporation. I think you've been up to Alaska enough to know and understand the complexity of the institutions that are serving Alaska Native people. It's not just tribes, it's tribal consortia, it's the corporations. And I've heard from some applicants that there's a worry or a concern that there's this disconnect or perhaps a lack of appreciation or understanding for how ANCs work as part of the project, their place in the community, how the benefits actually flow back to shareholders. So I hope that you can give me some assurance that these applications aren't being discounted because of perhaps some within the system's lack of understanding about ANCs and how they operate.
I appreciate that question. I would suspect that there probably more broadly you encounter a lot of lack of understanding of Alaska Native corporations and the role that they play. Because we have our Arctic Energy Office, for example, on my first trip to Alaska, I was fully briefed. The team actually organized a dialogue for me with representatives of the corporations. I think a greater challenge, if I may, in Alaska right now, that I think my 2 visits and the subsequent follow-up of my team has helped, you and I talked about this in Anchorage, is that you have enormous opportunities in Alaska for regional initiatives, turning the Cook Inlet into a carbon hub, for example. Right. You've been mentioning the North Slope here. There's also the decarbonization of your regionally isolated grid.
Which we're really excited about.
And there's enormous opportunities there. But the first trip I made, I sensed there was not an appreciation for the multiple provisions in the infrastructure legislation and the Inflation Reduction Act that could be layered together to do comprehensive projects. In my sense, that's changing. And as from our DOE perspective, the Alaska Native corporations are fundamental to all of that.
Well, I look forward to working with you, and if you have identified some that we need to speak to just about how the whole system knits together up there, I'm happy to do that. These are exciting. Mr. Chairman, I really appreciate that you and the ranking member have put this before the committee today. I have a whole host of questions, not only for Mr. Crabtree, but Mr. Piggott, that I would like to ask be included as part for questions for the record.
Absolutely. And